Hey folks, Malforian here, and yes, today we finally got the information we've all been waiting for. What is coming in Chapter 3 of content for Crusader Kings 3, and it's all bangers, to be honest. We're getting Byzantine Rework, we're getting landless characters, we are getting the Black Plague, new Legitimacy mechanics, we're getting legends, we're getting so much cool stuff in the next year of content for the game. So in this video, we're going to go through the dev diary they put out today, which covers basically an overview of them all. And then there was a premiere video announcing this, and there's some information in there as well. So we're going to take a quick look through that before we end the video today. So let's just get straight into it. Dev Diary 143, the next chapter for Crusader Kings 3. As they say here, the most ambitious year of content they've done. We're getting the core expansion, a major expansion, and an event pack, which is exactly what they said we were going to get. But I think even myself, I didn't think we'd get so much content in these expansion packs. And the first one is going to be the core expansion, Legends of the Dead. And this is coming next month, so we don't even have to wait that long for it. There's a little bit of information here, but they are going to be doing dev diaries now weekly up to launch, giving us a breakdown of all these new systems. So we're going to get a lot of information quickly, and then the content is here really quickly. So Legends of the Dead is all about the map, specifically that which spreads throughout it. Core expansions will, as mentioned previously, focus on broad systemic changes to the core gameplay loop or high-impact systems that affect the large part of the game world. And they covered this when they first announced them. They wanted these core expansions to really be something that everyone kind of experiences in the world, rather than like flavor packs where if you don't play in Iberia, there wasn't that much in there that you got elsewhere in the world. There was definitely some stuff in the free patch, but it was obviously focused in Iberia, for example. And these core expansions are just going to be mechanics that affect everyone on the map for the most part. With this being the first one, they really wanted to kick it off with style, have the biggest and all-encompassing patch, and I think they have done that. So the first thing we are getting is Legends. Tales of you or your ancestors' epic deeds will travel across the map, spreading news of your glory across borders into foreign realms. And this is going to be in the trailer stuff we look at later, but it basically looks like a culture on the map. You can kind of see it spreading as your fame is getting better and better. Embellished tales of heroism or piety were a massive and common part of medieval life, and here we're allowing you to write your own saga, quite literally. As your legend spreads, a book will be updated with your story, and events you get along the way may allow you to alter certain aspects to suit you better. After all, perhaps it was a dragon you slew rather than a bear. The more legends spread across the map, the more rulers will propagate it, and the more famed it will become. So yeah, you get this cool book, basically, obviously a medieval style with all the calligraphy. It actually like updates in real time with stuff that you've done. And as it says here, you can actually alter it. So yeah, if you just kill a bear, yeah, maybe it was a dragon, maybe it was something mythical. Obviously, like a lot of the historical tales from this time about killing dragons and things like that, obviously not real that we know of. But, you know, they are kind of like historical tales that we've all heard about. So, yeah, this bit looks really cool. Having these legends, telling an epic story due to what you get up to. I can only imagine, like, Vikings going raiding and what kind of stories you can put in there. It's going to be super exciting to see. And then the second part, yep, we are getting disease. Plagues are the second thing that spreads across the map. But unlike legends, they are destructive and nefarious. I would imagine some legends are pretty destructive and nefarious, but we'll go with what they say here. With a promise to shake up the game, deadly diseases can sweep across your lands, spawned by either chance or by the activities of armies, and they will destroy development and kill characters with a vengeance. If you take your army on a campaign, it actually spreads like typhus and things like that in its wake. Depending, I guess, on certain things, I wonder if you have like low supplies and you're like ravaging the land, and then obviously your army isn't healthy, so perhaps that's what kind of causes it to happen a little bit faster than usual. So we are getting some kind of combat, not like rework, but there's parts of all these DLCs that affect every aspect of the game pretty much. So this one affecting the army as well, and then obviously they can just randomly happen. And I imagine there's some less wholesome events that can cause it to happen as well. I would be surprised if there isn't any of those. All plagues are different and with varying effects, such as consumption ending the lives of elders with haste, measles shortening the lives of children, and holy fire, aka the dancing plague, making rulers move erratically. I imagine this is going to tie into the rework they did of erratic characters, where some of the sillier events got moved into those erratic characters. You pretty much had to have that trait to encounter those events. It looks like we are going to get some kind of specialized content within this as well, which is fantastic. Of course, there will be ways to combat and recover your lands from these terrible maladies. We will see that in a screenshot later. It looks like your court physician now acts almost like a council position. It looks like they have a couple of buttons they can now do which I imagine is like try prevent disease or combat it, set up hospitals or something. I'm not too sure, but we will see that later on. And this is how they look on the map. It looks really cool. It is like animated, is like the red disease look, so you can kind of see it on the map, but it's different to everything else, and it gives you like an immediate look at where disease of some kind is happening. And you can obviously try avoid it, I guess, with armies and things like that. Or if you're going on tours and tournaments, you probably don't want to be walking through plague-ridden land, do you? Probably going to end in a bad time, so something to definitely avoid. And then, of course, the big daddy of diseases, the Black Death, is coming. A looming threat that appears towards later eras, and I believe they said it was 1300 roughly, but you can change it in the options. It's going to spawn roughly then, which I think is when it came in CK2, if I remember correctly. Somebody can correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong. There is no escape from the Black Death, no matter how much you prepare, and the end is nigh. So this is going to really shake up the game in the end game. We've got the Mongols happening, and then we have the Black Death as well, and it's going to come flying in from the east, and we're going to see kind of what ravaging effect it has on the world as we play. And then the last major bit here is Legitimacy. This is a new measurement of your right to rule and affects a whole host of other systems from factions, vassalization, and even title creation. Of course, this new value is heavily tied to both legends and plagues, but also a myriad of other systems. A legitimate ruler will have a much easier time running a realm, but some very tempting actions, such as unrightful title revocation, will decrease legitimacy. It's a precarious balancing act. So this is obviously a system that they kind of have in EU4. I think it does make sense in CK3 coming as well, especially with the unlanded character stuff we're going to talk about soon. You're going to have like kings and queens and dukes where you've maybe usurped power, or maybe you're just a terrible ruler. And then ultimately, your dukes and your general populace are going to be like, you're not a good king, you're terrible. Maybe you aren't destined to rule, and maybe we should find somebody else instead. And as it says here, it does hook into a bunch of systems. It has got multiple layers of rewards, so we'll see some more of that again later. There's quite a lot in the trailer that kind of shows how these systems work, or at least gives us an idea on how they work. This is the one that's definitely going to make people happy. Roads to power, climbing your way up from counter-emperor is a challenge, but to claw your way up the treacherous political ladder of the Byzantine bureaucracy, yes, it's coming, or claiming a new realm as a destitute adventure, yes, that's also coming, are more challenging yet. This major expansion introduces two brand new ways to play the game, one focused on the governance of Eastern Rome, and the other on travelling the map in search of fame and fortune. These features have been oft-requested since the early days of Crusader Kings, and we thought it was time to do them. We're pulling out all the stops. I think they're talking about unlanded characters mostly. Obviously, we've had kind of the Byzantine having their own mechanics in CK2, but it looks like we're definitely going to that next system with this as well. So with the Imperial Administration, take the reins of a powerful noble family within Byzantium and lobby for powerful governorships. Use your influence to improve your standing, improve your estate, and ultimately convince the other families that you should be emperor. And then the other side, the other half of this is adventurers. Set out across the world as a historical adventurer, one of your own making, or keep playing your beloved character after you are unfortunately deposed from your lands. Travel to distant realms, take on contracts, gather friends, wealth and fame, do mercenary work, or just settle in new lands. So with this, you can basically play as El Cid and carry on his adventures and see how well you do, or you can make your own unlanded character to begin with, or, as it says, you can play somebody if you're not doing well, if your realm's falling apart, if you get kicked out of your last county, the game isn't going to end anymore. I imagine you're going to get an option. Do you want the game to end, or do you want to go on some adventuring adventures and see whether you can reclaim your glory and kind of travel the world and see what happens, which is cool. I really love the idea of having a character that does really well, and then you hit on hard times, things go wrong, and you don't save scum and restart. You actually think, well, this is going to tell a cool story. I'm actually going to bring him back, travel maybe somewhere else. Maybe you get deposed in like northern England, and then you're traveling around the map and you end up settling on Sicily or somewhere and really getting in well with the ruler there. And then ultimately you end up with some land and you carry on your adventure. I think that's going to play some amazing stories out for people. So I can't wait for the adventure system. And obviously Byzantium. And then speaking of that, everything Byzantium, they're not exaggerating when they say this expansion will be dripping in Byzantine flavor. From imperial fashion to new buildings, historical flavor, beautiful mosaics, and much, much more. The game will immerse you in the setting with a passion, and it looks like from this screenshot, we're actually going to get a different, not the map itself, but like the outline of the map is going to be different if you're playing the Byzantines. Going to get that purple color that everyone loves, and some grapes, obviously, very Byzantine, and some mosaic-y kind of looking stuff as well. So with this being a major expansion. I can only imagine the amount of content and stuff we're going to get in here for both of these systems. I'm really looking forward to this, probably even more than Disease and the first expansion, but both of these just look so good. I cannot wait for this. This year is going to be amazing for all of us CK3 players. And then the last thing really is the event pack, Wandering Nobles. Travel is a mechanic that really connects your characters to the map, and in the event pack they wanted to flesh out the mechanic to give us even more reason to travel and things that can happen on the roads. This is building on the tours and tournament system, which was already fantastic. We're getting a bunch of new content for this as well. New sights to see, new paths to take, and new stories to tell, which is good. I do love the travel system, but I think we've all seen the story of, you know, the knight getting attacked by wolves or the mysterious tent person. It does get a bit boring after you've seen them a few times, so it is going to be cool. We're going to get a bunch of new content for that system. Fantastic that they're coming back to these old systems, as they said they would, and adding content in the future, and they can keep adding on in the future as well with more content and more ideas. Is it your journey or the destination? Your characters can also engage with a new lifestyle. So yeah, we're getting our new lifestyle. We're getting the traveler lifestyle. Be a bit weird, I guess, if you have a child and then you choose for them to be a traveler. I guess they just start going off on their travels once they come of age. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out. Like, do you just see them wander off and then maybe you get told, like, oh, your son ended up getting gifted this county due to his, endeavors with a certain ruler. And then when you die, do you want to go play as him there, or do you want him to come back home and stay and kind of take over your legacy? It's going to be interesting to see exactly how that plays out, especially with it being a lifestyle. And then obviously the bonuses that's going to give, it's going to be super interesting to see exactly how they work. I suppose as they are doing unlanded characters, it makes sense that there's a lifestyle focused around being a landless character for the most part, but it does look like it affects tours and tournaments as well. The super last bit really is the instant unlock Couture of the Capes. Definitely probably butchered that pronunciation. The French were a fancy lot, yeah, that is true. And with this instant unlock, you can admire their splendor during the High Medieval period. And this is basically a bunch of clothing for the French region in the High Medieval period. It looks really cool. And this is obviously the instant unlock. This is what you get for buying Chapter 3 today, basically. If you buy that, you get this for free. Well, free, and you can play this in-game now. And then everything else, obviously, is coming in March for the first DLC, and then later in the year for the following two. So we've got plenty to look forward to this year. Really, really excited. And then as they say here, from next week, they're going to be doing the weekly dev diaries for Legends of the Dead. If you haven't already, hit like. I'll be covering those every week up to launch, and then we'll be doing campaigns and all that good stuff. But before you go, we are going to take a look through some of these scenes from the trailer, because there was some interesting bits here and there that we can look through. The first one being that this is how the legacies look. We've got the heirs of Charlemagne, you've got Roman heritage, so I guess they've either come from Rome or they've discovered they're Roman, and then they've done so well, it's kind of spreading it. And as you can see also, you can see the disease spreading across the map as well, which is really cool. There's actually one up here, but I can't tell what it is. Oh, no, auspicious birth. So I guess they've had like a super child born. The legend of that child is starting to grow or something like that, or that ruler, I would imagine. And then here we get our first look at the plague UI. So it shows the plague that you're looking at. This one is nearby to where this character is. It is a level 3 apocalyptic, so it's going to be causing a bad time. It tells you where the outbreak began and the time frame that it did, and then also the amount of people it's killed. It has got affecting modifiers on the right-hand side, but we obviously don't know what they are yet, but we'll find out, I would imagine, in one of the dev diaries. Shows you the realms infected, and I believe the bars there show the county and then how many of the baronies are affected during the plague itself. And then world infections, I guess if there's the Black Plague or something, it's going to show up there saying this is one that's going to cause everyone trouble. But as you can see from this one, it's spread pretty far. It's, all the way along the Mediterranean here. Got into Italy, Greece, onto Sardinia over here as well. So yeah, this one's definitely spread pretty far. And then as I said earlier, the court physician here looks like it's got some new options. It's got these 4 buttons. We obviously don't know what they are. Well, one of them is control plagues. I guess that kind of tries to bring it under control. And then there's one here with like the physician icon. I'm guessing that's going to try prevent plagues from happening. And then the third one, I've no idea. I can't really tell what that is. Again, we'll find out soon enough. So yeah, your court physician basically becomes a full council role by the looks of it when you have it. You probably want to have one better than this guy who's poor. He's not going to be very good, is he, at doing things? It looks like you have this, and then they have these extra buttons now that they didn't have before, which is pretty cool. Again, fleshing out this previous content. Oh, one thing I have noticed as well is the UI on the left-hand side here. The icons that used to be along the bottom are now up the left-hand side of the UI. Not a massive change, but I've just noticed it as we're watching this. And then this is the legend system. As you can see, there's Arthur Pendragon, there's the Blood of Allah, and there's a Valiant Defense. These 3 characters that are legends. And then this is the book they were talking about where basically your story is told in this book. I would imagine you have to have a certain amount of events happen before this obviously turns up. I doubt if your account you have one of these and it's just like, yeah, he won one war and then he died. So I imagine you have to be maybe a king, maybe higher. I guess it depends. Maybe you have to have a certain level of prestige to unlock these, perhaps, or a certain kind of event happens in certain content if you're successful. And then as you can see on the screen, it's basically telling the story of this character. And then this is going to kind of spin out a yarn of legend that you can add to and add to until you die. And then I imagine it gives some kind of buff to your legacy maybe once you die. I would imagine there's some kind of bonus kind of long term for having this and not just whilst you're alive. And as you can see, yeah, it's in 100 baronies almost. The owner is Duke Hugh. So he's got the book of the legacy of Arthur Pendragon. Oh, so maybe that's it. Maybe you do end up getting an actual chronicle book for your character that gives you buffs depending on what it does. And obviously there are all these modifiers here. We don't know what they do yet as well. It does cost you money to maintain, so you can stop promoting it or you can start promoting it. I'm not sure what I think about that. You basically pay money to make people believe in your legend. I'm not sure. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I can kind of see why it works this way, but also I would think it'd be more focused on prestige or something like that, or high piety would force it to kind of spread. And maybe it does spread that way, and you can also pay to make it spread faster, but I don't know. I'm not too sure about spending money to spread it. Again, let me know what you think. And again, we'll see, obviously, in the dev diaries how this is going to work. There's also the Court Chronicler at the bottom here. Can't really see what he does. He adds prestige by the looks of it, and he's another court position that you can have. And there is, yeah, your legends and world legends, so I guess you can have multiple legends of your own, which is cool as well. And then outside of the bonuses the Chronicle itself gives, if you do become legendary enough, you actually get access to build these special buildings. You can build legendary shrines, statues, palaces, watchtowers, and hunting lodges, kind of mix in the different kinds of content, I guess, that you could become a legend about. Obviously, a holy character, a very prestigious character for a palace, a watchtower, I imagine, if you're leading armies successfully, and then legendary hunting lodges, I guess if you're really good at doing tours and tournaments, I suppose. You can have an amazing hunting lodge, and then I guess your future tours, if you host them there, are going to get some crazy modifiers, I would think. So these look like cool additional things. I imagine they're going to cost quite a lot of money. It's probably going to be a bit of a gold sink later in the game, which is good. Something to spend your hard-earned money on. And then the last thing they really showed off was the legitimacy system, which we were talking about earlier. This is all about your representation of your right to rule as a ruler. Vassals also generate legitimacy expectations that the liege is supposed to meet. Only rulers have legitimacy, which is calculated the moment they become rulers and results in their initial legitimacy. A fraction of previous rulers can also be inherited by the heir. Obviously, we don't know how these legitimacy expectations are going to work. It's going to be interesting to see how this is balanced around, obviously, when you take over as a new character, as a new ruler, what makes them think you're a certain level of legitimate, and then what affects it afterwards. It seems like this is going to work like court grandeur with like a bar. Well, we're going to see that in a second, actually. I think there's 5 tiers. And think of it like that, with a bar that kind of moves up and down and gives you modifiers based on what it is. So it does look very like that, but then obviously with these new mechanics built around it as well. And then legitimacy also affects many game systems, such as marriage proposals, vassalization, alliances, claims, and it also helps swing the scales of power in Regency. I imagine for Regency, if you're very legitimate, then your regent will find it harder to take over from you because obviously everyone sees you as the rightful ruler. Whereas if you're not very legitimate, maybe they'll look at the regent even more than they do now and think, yeah, maybe that guy will do better. And then as you can see here, it does very much look like the court grandeur kind of system in a different UI. So for level 1 aspiring ruler, now you can have 0. No one sees you as a legitimate ruler, but level 1 of 5 is aspiring. And as you can see, it basically is bad. Everything is worse for you. Short range duration is worse. Popular opinion is worse. Things cost you more to do. And people are less likely to accept marriages and alliances and things like that. So that is an additional cool thing about this. At the moment, alliances, you've just got to have them like you, basically, and you can pretty much get any alliance that you want within reason. But with this new legitimacy system, you're going to actually have to have high legitimacy to get these. Because I guess, like with the regents that I was talking about, I guess other rulers are looking at you and thinking, you're a aspiring ruler. I don't trust that you're going to be around long enough, so I'm not going to make an alliance with you. Even if I like you personally, I don't think you're going to be around too long to actually help me with this, so I'm going to say no. And then obviously at the higher ranks, they're more likely to say yes. Even if, I guess, if they don't like you that much, they're going to look at it and think, wow, you're so legitimate as a ruler, you're amazing. I'm going to want to marry or ally into you because you're such an awesome ruler and it's going to help me. And here is the 5 out of 5 ordained ruler. So this is obviously just the flip of level 1. Renown is better, short range duration is better, popular opinion is better, and everything else is just cheaper or easier to do. And you're just going to be having a good time. 5 out of 5. As you can see here, this person is expected to be a level 3. And they're obviously way above that. I don't know if you're going to get any additional bonuses for being much higher than you should be. It'd be cool if there was some, but we don't see that today. Again, we'll get that covered in future dev diaries for sure. And then to finish off the video today, it's there. It's the Black Death. As you can see, it's spreading like wildfire across Northern and Western Europe. And much like in CK2, you're not going to want to be in the path of it because it's going to just decimate your realm. You can see it spreading as it continues to go between all the different counties. And yeah, some fantastic art showing rulers die, unfortunately, just from disease. Your best laid plans have all come to nothing. And then there is going to be an announcement. The Black Death is coming. Pestilence stalks the land. You've got to get ready because it's going to be a bad time for everyone. But anyway, guys, on that note, we're going to leave it there for today. There might be some little bits I've missed here or there. Leave them in the comments down below if there's anything major I missed. But I tried to watch the video, the Steam page update, and obviously the things on the website and the dev diary. Just amazing stuff coming this year by the looks of it. And then, as I said, the dev diary is coming next week. So I'll be covering those on the channel. So like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. I'll be back next week and we'll be covering whatever they talk about. It's going to be awesome to see even more information on all these systems and see exactly what we're getting. And yeah, the first expansion is coming in a month. So it isn't even going to be that long before we get our hands on this and start telling some amazing new adventures in CK3. But we'll leave it there for today. And I'll see you in the next one.